is Karen Locke-Culp. She's a child development expert. And Karen today will discuss how the pandemic impacts our kids and, for the most part, how to speak with young kids about the process and anything else you want to bring to the table, Karen.
Thank you very much. I'm really, really happy to be here. The other thing I want to bring to the table is how to get through this when you feel like you can't go on for one more minute. Because I work with quite a few parents of young children, and I'm seeing four things basically in my practice, which is the first one is children are either frightened of masks or refusing to wear one. That's very common. Another very common thing is kids who are getting into like excessive mischief, which is, you know, a lot of parents are really struggling with that. Kids are witnessing things that are traumatic for them, even something like the smoke detector going off, or, you know, parents fighting or something like that. So there's a little more of that in our lives right now. And then the fourth thing is like, how do we pour from an empty cup? And actually today I wanted to show this. I wore my half full shirt. I've got a shirt that says half full because I feel like we got to try not to pour from an empty cup. So I thought I would start with the masks, because this is something like now in Bellingham, if you're in a public place, you need to wear a mask. And I love this, by the way, that you guys are doing this. Kids under, I think it's under 5 or 5 and under, do not have to wear them. There are places, there are other cities and towns in Massachusetts where they're trying to require everybody age 2 and up to do that. And I just don't see how that's possible to keep a 2-year-old in a mask. So I love that here it's not quite as stringent. But there are times when parents, you know, might feel like their child is, for example, one mom I work with, they live in an apartment building, and her son likes to dawdle and chat with people in the lobby, and that's a place where you need a child to wear a mask because, you know, maybe they are transferring something and you don't want them to do that. So the first thing that I try to share is, like, question 1, must they actually wear a mask? For example, if you're trying to get through a busy lobby to a place where they don't have to wear it, could you offer a piggyback or something instead? Like, could you do something where you're getting through the mask situation and out? And then the other thing that I've been seeing really good results with is basically playing with masks before we ask kids to either put them on or go out where they're seeing other people in them. So like you and your child, for example, could pretend to be doctors, and you're working, you know, you're checking out like the child's stuffed animals or dolls or something like that. Every doctor wears a mask, right? So now they have a mask on, they're seeing you in your mask. You can talk about how, you know, even though I'm still wearing a mask, it's mom under here, right? Like, you can see me. And because a lot of times kids are afraid of like what's underneath the mask. I'm sure in the firehouse that comes up a lot because we want kids to go to firefighters and they're wearing masks. So so that, you know, I think the thing we want to try and do is get our children's buy-in. We're not going to have good luck with just saying put on this mask now, because we're going to get, you know, crying and meltdowns and stuff like that. So as much as we can make it playful, you know, and even helping them to pretend to put masks on stuffed animals or something like that. Trying to help them just really be playful. The kids learn everything through play, so the more we can do to play is, you know, the more we can do to make them more comfortable with the masks, the better. So hopefully that's helpful with masks. I've got these other 3 things I wanted. Is it all right for me to kind of keep going?
By all means, we have the time.
Cool. So the second thing I wanted to share about is when kids are experiencing something traumatic, which again, it's not necessarily something that we would think of as traumatic, like if the smoke detector goes off or anything like that. I'm working with one mom who, she and her daughter witnessed a dog being beaten up, which was really, really upsetting for both of them. Little girl, you know, seeing something like that. And so for anything that does feel traumatic for a child, the best thing that we can do is to understand that kids will play through things again and again. Like, they will ask you the same questions. A couple of years ago, one of my clients, her son was in a car accident, and it wasn't daddy's fault, number one, and nobody was hurt, everybody was okay. But he kept saying for months afterwards, why did daddy crash daddy's car? Like, kids have these questions and they keep coming up. So if you are seeing something like your child has witnessed something traumatic or felt traumatized, and they're asking these questions again and again, the best thing we can do is to kind of stay calm and help them through it, right? Say like, yes, that did happen. I remember that too. And let them kind of share verbally their feelings about it if they can, and then say to them, but daddy kept you safe, right? Like, and I'm going to keep you safe, and try to help them understand on a really basic level, like, we are going to do everything we can to stay safe and keep you safe, because really children are very egotistical and they tend to think of themselves first, of course, and the sort of the younger they are, the more difficult it is for them to take and be putting on somebody else's shoes, walking in someone else's shoes, basically. So so the more we can do at sort of staying calm, helping them stay safe and feel safe and let them talk through these things, the better off they'll be. And then, so this is a biggie, kids getting into excessive mischief. So I have heard of kids fighting with siblings, dumping vinegar in daddy's bed, smearing peanut butter on walls, pulling the dog's tail. I mean, all these things, right? So I think the first thing I want everybody to know is that this is really common. You're not alone if you're seeing this with your young child. And it's not that they have some personal vendetta against you, or, that they want to destroy things. It's just a different situation right now. We're not usually in a situation like this where they're confined and that maybe the supervision is different because everybody's trying to work, and we're all stressed out as well. So that's the first thing. Just know you're not alone. We will get through this time. It'll be better. And what I try to share with people is to think about being the thermostat rather than the thermometer. So if we can try to stay at a nice sort of cool, calm 68 degrees, even as our child is doing things that might bring that temperature up, like we might want to, we might find ourselves at 120, but if we can sort of remember, okay, I need to be the thermometer, I need to stay nice and calm. And I need to credit my friend Janine Halloran, who's a licensed mental health counselor, works with a lot of kids and parents actually with that expression. That has helped me here in my home a lot. Just the idea that, like, the calmer we can stay, the better. It's not always going to happen, but if we try to remember about being that thermostat. When you come upon oatmeal all over the floor, for example, or something like that, I try to take the, like, you're in big trouble sense out of it. So in other words, I try to encourage parents to say something like, what happened here? Instead of like, what did you do? Because we want kids to, like, it's not going to help if everybody is angry or upset or frustrated. So what I want you to try and do is help them understand, like, this happened. If you can, try to think, you're not in trouble. Get their help with cleanup if it's age appropriate, and then try to have kind of a calm conversation in which you share your feelings about this too, because kids, oftentimes they feel like they're just alone in a world where no one else has any feelings except for them. Again, getting back into that kind of egotistical, that's how the nature of childhood. So if you can say to them, this is really hard, isn't it? And if you can say to them, there are some times where I feel like dumping the vinegar all over my bed. Like, if they understand they're not alone and you're validating their feelings, that does help lessen the mischief a little bit, because they know they can come to you when they are feeling sad or need a hug or they're upset. So that's kind of what I would suggest about excessive mischief. And then I think the biggie here for so many of us is, how do we get through this when we feel like we just can't do another minute, never mind another day, right? Or through May or whenever. And I think the first thing I think of is the idea of, as we've all been coming through this, it's been harder and harder to realize that, like, we can't just kind of hold our breath until it's over. Like, it's not so much about getting through it right now as it is about trying to live in it. And for me, that was a big mindset shift. It was actually a coaching client of mine who said, well, how do I live in this? And And I realized that's kind of what I had been doing. My husband was the one who said, well, it's like, we can't just hold our breath. We have to find a way to live. So, so thinking about that, the next thing that I try to think about is that, or remember, is that emotions are running really high right now. I'm hearing about a lot of guilt, like parents will yell or smack their child or something like that, and then they feel so guilty. And if we can just recognize how high emotions are running, try to give ourselves a break, cut ourselves some slack if we can. I know how hard this is. On the toughest days, what I usually do is I say, well, okay, pandemic one, Karen zip. And then I try again tomorrow. Like I sort of resort to that expression, like, okay, today was maybe not my best day, but everybody's fed, everybody's clothed, everybody is here and safe, and sometimes that's the best we can do. And I realize that feels like I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't feel like enough to me, but truly that has been the thing that gets me through this, is thinking, all right, like this is a tough moment, it will pass, and then finally celebrating small victories. So I think about this across the board here for everything I've been talking about. Like if you can get your child to wear a mask for 5 seconds, comfortably, like without flipping out, it's better than not having them. It's better than a temper tantrum, for example, or something like that. If we can think, we actually did all get fed today. Hey, if we can kind of come through this, celebrating those small victories and remembering, that we do get to try again tomorrow. That's kind of how I have been, helping people through it. And the other thing is to try to find, the one last thing is to try to find some things to look forward to. So, for example, a woman I'm working with basically says, okay, we've got, we can't leave the house. It's just the two of us. We can't leave our apartment, actually. It's just the two of us. I'm working all day. Here's what we've got going on. But what can we do that's different each week? They try to do something different. And they've been kind of, she and her 4-year-old have been going on like a baking odyssey. So each weekend they're trying to bake something that, that they've never baked before, that the little boy really wants to bake. And she has posted pictures of him sort of like looking into the oven, which is just so cute. He's like waiting for the thing to bake. And it's just, trying to have things to look forward to. And I think a lot of us are finding that like Zoom calls with family, or taking some kind of an online virtual class that happens in real time, so that there's a purpose for you to sort of go at that time and watch or try or view or whatever. Those are some things that people are finding work for them. So so hopefully that's something that will work for you.
I think if we're honest with each other, I mean, everyone faces some anxiety, stress, or depression over the last several weeks. What struck me, I was participating in some school department calls, and to hear the stories of parents who are working from home, and they either don't have daycare available, so they're doing daycare, but you also have that second or third grader who has to get on the call with their teacher, and it's not like they're comfortable doing that. So mom and dad have to literally oversee that call, which just brings their stress level up that much more. So I think just wrapping up our session, I think that when you get to those sessions, you have to fill your glass half full with your favorite beverage.
Yes, that's very true. Could I actually share one more quickie thing?
Please.
I've got a website. It's called WeTurnedOutOK.com. That's the name of my podcast, and it's for parents of young children. What I've been doing for all of April is I've been running a virtual summit, a free virtual summit. I've been bringing guests. I've been recording with guests and then posting each day. So there's 10 of them now. The summit wraps up today, and tonight I'm actually having a watch party in my little We Turned Out Okay Facebook group. And so it's at 8 o'clock tonight, and it's with a preschool teacher who's a special needs preschool teacher. She's a colleague of mine for years and years. We work together in the same place where she still works, actually, the Ashland Preschool Program. And it's just a really good conversation. I actually called it practical pandemic parenting because We just get into all kinds of stuff that parents of young children might really want to know. And when I say parents of young children, I think about anybody with kids ages sort of 10 and under, 9 and under. So that is all at WeTurnedOutOK.com if anybody wants to go and check it out.
Great.
And you can contact me there if you've got questions or anything like that. So
there's hope that our children are going to turn out okay
yes.
after this
Fingers
is over.
crossed anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Karen Locke-Health, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show, and thank you for enlightening Bellingham.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. And if anybody writes in with questions to the COVID-19 email address, I'm more than happy to get in touch to talk to parents. This is a really tough time we're living through, and if I can be helpful at all, I really want to. So.
Great.
And I heard you're a regular viewer of this show, so thank you very much for doing that.
I love it. This show has made me. This is where I get almost all my news. I feel like what you're talking about is positive. It's forward moving. It's like everything that I need in terms of the news. So thank you so much for doing this, all of you.
Well, stay tuned in and you'll learn some more. Next up, we have Bruce Wilson, our public health agent, with an update for the day. Welcome, Bruce.
Hi, everyone.
Bruce, right into the mic, right?
I wanted to expand on the mask a little bit. It's so important that the mask fits. So if you've got a little child, you need a small mask. Actually, something that would work probably better than a mask might be a bandana. A bandana with the kid's favorite Disney character or something like that. But again, it's what's the fit? A larger person's going to want a larger mask. A little person's going to need a child's mask. If the child's being forced to wear a big mask, it's kind of scary. They're going to lose their vision. They're going to have trouble breathing. So it is important. The whole idea of the mask, everybody's got to understand what the purpose of the mask is for and what it's doing and how it's protecting you or how it's protecting the people you're coming into contact with. That's, the big key thing. A lot of people lose that conception and, get a warm feeling that they see everybody with a mask on, but not everybody really needs the mask. It's the people that are coming into close contact or the breaking that 6 foot safe social distancing, that type of thing. But again, the size or something that makes it fun to wear. I don't know if anybody's started to look at making masks that have printed things on them. Although I imagine in the future here shortly, because life as we know it, it's going to involve a mask of some sort, depending on how quickly we've gone back to work and what the governor decides to do. But the mask is great to protect not only you, but it protects the people you come in contact with, so that the droplets and the sneezing and the coughing isn't spread. It's key. It's difficult. I spoke with several other boards of health on trying to come up with that age, because you try to put a mask on a 2-year-old, it's just not going to work. The 5-year-olds tend to have a little more maturity and tolerate it better. From what I've seen out, doing the inspections at the different stores, the kids seem to be doing okay with it. But again, they're wearing a child mask or they're wearing a bandana.
I think one of the questions will come up, the weekend looks great and people will probably try to be out using places that have been closed by the town, even outside in any group setting, masks are required now.
And I'm hoping Vegas Camp does turn around and try to give us a little more direction, because Dan was right in his earlier meeting there. We aren't like some of the bigger towns here. We have less exposure. Our numbers are turning out better. We're already, half the numbers we have are if you look at it, half of them have already returned. So it's, I'm hoping he starts to look at it and put everything into perspective and let towns, work on things that suit their needs, not a blanket brushstroke, like you said.
Anything else before we turn it over to Dennis?
Stay safe, wash your hands,
There you go.
maintain that distance.
And for anyone watching, yes, we had masks when we came in, but we took them off because we're
We're safe,
socially distanced for the sake
apart.
of this presentation.
And again, it's, when you're coming in close contact with somebody, that's where the mask is necessary. Just to keep from spreading the droplets and stuff like that. It's not necessarily everywhere. If you're in the car by yourself, you don't need it.
Mhm.
If you're out walking, you don't need it. But if you come in close proximity with somebody you're out walking, put it on temporarily.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We continue to have questions sent into our website, which Dennis will cover. Dennis Frayne, our town administrator.
Thanks, Michael. Esther, I promised you no questions today, but I do have one. People are talking about animals again, and dogs and cats, and it was a feline issue. And recently, it was reported that a couple of pug dogs came up positive that were in a family of 5 who were all positive. And again, as far as pets go, whether it's cats or dogs, what's the likelihood of that virus being spread from an animal to a person?
Sure. So actually, it was one dog that tested positive. I think it's important to remember that, as you said, the entire family was infected with the virus, and they had multiple pets, and this was the only pet that tested positive. So now they're recommending that you do try to socially distance from your pets if you do, in fact, catch the virus. It is still not known whether or not the pets can transmit it back to humans, but obviously we can now spread it to our pets. So you just want to try to keep your pets healthy and safe, and try to keep them socially distanced from you if possible.
Thank you.
Yep.
We had a few people have sent in question asking, since the town's requiring masks, is the town going to provide them? And the town is not in a position to be providing masks. We ask people to use it's a face covering, so that you could use a bandana or a handkerchief or anything that's going to cover your nose and your mouth when you're out in public. And finally, someone had asked about our numbers, if they're current every day, if it's cumulative. Someone asked about the deaths, and they thought that we had reported 5 deaths, but in fact there are 3 deaths that have been reported here in town, and that is the total number of deaths, regrettably, that we've seen in as far as Bellingham residents are concerned. Finally, the recycling center, we've received a number of calls continuously, and during our 9 a.m. emergency management meeting, we talked about opening that up on Saturday for recycling and general goods, heavy metal, et cetera, that we typically have. And that will happen this Saturday. It'll be open from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. So it's 8 to 4. And brush, as well as the recycling center. We will be limiting the number of people that come in, so that may be a little slower than what you're used to, but we're going to go ahead and give that a trial run. We ask that you wear a mask if you're coming to the recycling center. The people that will be there will be wearing masks and gloves as well. And again, we'll be limiting the number of people that go in there. We don't want it to be overwhelming, but I know it's been closed for a while. People have been asking. So this Saturday, we're going to give that a try. And we continue to have the center open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 9 to 2 for yard waste.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Deputy, any last minute thoughts?
Yeah, I have a couple things. Just a reminder, the fire chief mentioned to me today that open burning, tomorrow is the last day for open burning. So continue, if you have a permit, continue with your open burning, and then after tomorrow, it is completed. And as usual, if you have any questions regarding COVID for the state of Massachusetts, you can dial 211. If you have any questions or concerns regarding your employment, you can call the Massachusetts Attorney General at 617-727-3465.
Very good.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Dennis, Bruce, Esther, Deputy, our guest Karen, and people behind the scenes for making today possible. Have a great day and be safe, folks.
Thank
Stay
you.
well.
Thank you.